Who knows what it means to be the GOAT? That's right, the greatest of all time. I'm going to show you today that there is one thing holding you back more than anything else from being the GOAT in your sphere of influence. That's right, you can be the greatest of all time, but you'll never do it if you don't address this one thing. Now, in this show, I do things a little bit different, and even though I can't see you or hear you, I'm still going to ask you to participate by saying things aloud and typing in the comments. Why? Because studies have shown that if you open your mouth and participate, then you're like 1,000 times more likely to remember the information that I'm sharing with you. So how many of you want to walk away from this video with new insights and new revelation to guide you? Raise your hand out there, say, that's me. I released a video the other day where I told you that I was better than others. And it stirred some people up. I got a hate comment and I thought I must really be onto something. So I'm here today to anchor down on my position. There is one major difference between the GOATs and the non-GOATs. And it's really quite simple. The GOATs actually believe that they are the greatest of all time, and the non-GOATs, they don't. And I know that this is a hard pill to swallow, especially because I come from a ministry background, and all of us Christians out there have been taught to value humility and not to think too highly of ourselves. And we'll get into what the Bible has to say about it. And usually I wouldn't even talk like this, but I just got kind of like good and mad the last few days and realized that there is a secret to greatness that everyone has been trying to hide from you guys. Your parents didn't want you to know it. Your teachers didn't want you to know it. Your pastor didn't want you to know it. They all thought that if you really knew the secret, that it would destroy you, that somehow it would corrupt you from the inside out. And their intentions were mostly good. I mean, maybe they thought if you knew this secret that you would resist their instruction, or that you would become arrogant, that you'd be unteachable, certainly uncontrollable. But successful people, the ones who are out there making a massive impact in the world, stepping out in their potential, they know this secret. They don't let on about it because it's not culturally acceptable. It looks bad to admit it, but they know something about themselves that you don't give yourself permission to know. They already know that they are the greatest of all time. The billionaires, the massive influencers, presidents. I mean, do you know how much arrogance it takes to think to yourself, yeah, I should be the leader of the free world. I could do that better than anyone else. I mean, society frowns on that kind of arrogance, and yet it took someone great who believed that they were the GOAT to put themselves out there and even run for that office, to try out for that sports team, right? To start that business, start that ministry. Why should people listen to you? Why should people buy from you? Well, because you're the greatest of all time, but nobody wants you to know. And I'll tell you why. Because we live in a world that thinks that if you're the GOAT, then no one else can be the GOAT. And that's not fair. So society has kind of put you in your place. We can't have you going around out there thinking that you're better than everyone else. That could hurt someone's feelings. That can make someone else feel less significant. And don't they have just as much of a right to a sense of significance as you do? Well, yeah, and that's exactly why I'm proposing to you that, number one, you can allow yourself to be the GOAT of your own story, and two, allow others to be the GOAT of their own story. There's a movie going on in my head about my life, and I want you to see this. I'm the star in my movie. Jesus is the author and the producer and the guy that is pulling all the strings and showing me how to be all that he created me to be. And there's some other people out there that are in my movie, but I'm the star. And in my movie, I get to take my family to the next level. I get to take us all to new heights. I get to serve the people around me and help them become all they're created to be. I'm amazing in my movie. I look good. I have wisdom. I open my mouth and lives are changed. I pray for the sick. God works miracles through me in the name of Jesus. I am the greatest of all time. I'm seated right there in heavenly places with Jesus, and he has made me the star of my own movie. And I know you're awesome, and I know you have strengths that I don't have, and you have a calling that I'm not called to, But I don't care how great you seem, you're not the star of my movie. You being the hero of your movie has no impact whatsoever in me being the hero of my movie, right? That's how you can be the GOAT, and I can be the GOAT, and she can be the GOAT, and he can be the GOAT. But nobody gets to be the GOAT until they allow themselves to be the star of their own movie. Joseph in the Bible, he knew he was the GOAT. Joseph just made the critical mistake of telling others about his secret, which is not recommended, by the way. I'm telling you my secret to illustrate a point. And I don't mind a hate mail if it can help you to break free from the limiting mindsets that others unknowingly impose on you. But the book of Genesis tells us that Joseph had a dream. And in the dream, he and his brothers were binding sheaves of grain out of the field when suddenly Joseph's sheaf rose and stood upright, while the sheaves of his brothers gathered around and bowed down to Joseph's. Can you see the picture? Now, Joseph didn't know that he was supposed to keep his secret to himself. So he went out and told his brothers. And the Bible said that they hated him all the more for it. In fact, it says that they could not speak a kind word to him. And that's an important point. When people around you start to see that you're embracing your identity, that you're allowing yourself to believe that you can rise above others, that you can become the star of your own movie, their natural response is to resist it. And you may be asking yourself, like, why can't they just support me? Why can't they just encourage me? Why can't they give me a kind word? Why does everything they say have to be negative? It's not that they don't want you to be great. It's that they can't see a world where you can be great if they're not great. And it was no different for Joseph's brothers. They couldn't see a world where Joseph could be the GOAT and they could be the GOAT. So they couldn't even speak a kind word. They felt they needed to keep Joseph in his place. And if that wasn't bad enough, Joseph shared another dream with them. And in this dream, not only did his brothers bow down to him, but so did his mother and father. And they couldn't even handle that. That became the justification they needed. Something had to be done. Joseph had to be dealt with. He was thinking too much of himself, and from that day forward, his own brothers plotted to destroy him. But it wasn't just Joseph. Cain did the same thing with Abel. Saul did the same thing with David. The Pharisees did the same thing to Jesus. People who lack an abundance mentality will always try and put down the one who believes he or she is a star. But the good news is, they can't stop you. Joseph still became the prime minister of Egypt, and his brothers and fathers did, in fact, come bow down to him. Cain killed Abel, but we still learn from Abel and his story thousands of years later. David still became king, and Jesus is still King of Kings. The Pharisees and the haters in the comments can't keep you from becoming the GOAT. But you need to see that there is one person who can hold you back, and that's you. You get to choose if you will allow yourself to be the star of your own movie. And today I'm sharing 3 reasons why you might not even let yourself become the GOAT. The first one is this: you think goating is gloating. You might be asking, Harrison, doesn't the Bible tell me that I shouldn't think more highly of myself than I ought to? Yeah, the Bible does make it clear that God despises injustice. He doesn't like it when we use our position to hold other people down. But what kind of person does that? Is it someone who is secure or someone who is insecure? Say insecure. Insecure people are threatened by others. People who are confident in their own value aren't afraid to assign value to others. God has already given us an appropriate level of humility in that He is God and we are not. We are made in His image. We're not God. Pride is living our lives thinking that we're in charge of it. Pride is pretending that we're not accountable to a higher authority. Pride is treating God's other children in a way that He would never treat them. And believe me, the Bible is clear. Pride comes before the fall. You behave like that, and God will let you get put back in your place. But don't let the enemy twist that into thinking that you can never be great. God actually designed you for greatness. Jesus said that we should aspire to be called great in the kingdom of heaven. But Harrison, Jesus also said the first shall be last, and the last shall be first. Okay, so the goal was implied in Jesus' parable. Jesus wants you to be first, and he's showing you the path to get there. If you want to be first, then get busy serving other people. Bring your product to market. Get your message out there. I'm not saying to stop thinking about other people, to only think about yourself. I'm saying be the best at serving others. Be the best speaker. Be the best salesperson. Be the best pastor. Be the best politician. Be the best. Be the best. Be the best. And you'll see that when you're the best, you'll serve the best. And Jesus says that you'll be the best. First in line. You're all going to think I'm crazy, but when I first surrendered my heart to God, it was a very powerful experience. I was 17 years old, and I locked myself in my room and read all the letters of Paul in the Bible. I don't know why, but when I came out of my room, I knew exactly what I needed to do. So I went out, and I rented an outdoor theater in my little town. I hired a band, I wrote a sermon, and I printed 2,000 flyers, and I invited the whole school to come to a rally because I wanted them to experience what I had just experienced. Have you ever stepped out of your comfort zone and did something so crazy? Maybe you asked that person on a date. Maybe you set some massive goal for yourself, but you just went all in. I mean, those are the moments that tell you something about yourself. They're glimpses of the greatness inside you, the dream that's inside you. Well, when the day came for the rally, I was so nervous. I was thinking to myself, like, what in the world have I done? I showed up early. I got the sound equipment all set up. The band started to warm up. Okay, the band was really just my dad on a keyboard. But finally, the start time came and nobody showed up. Well, like 8 people from the youth group at my church came. It was awful. It is the only time that I can remember in 5 years leading up to that moment that I had set my mind to do something and that what I saw in my mind, it just didn't happen. I mean, I was crushed. It was humiliating. I was the student body president at my school. I think those 8 kids from the youth group thought with me that this was going to be something like the start of something big, but it was a complete failure. You know, those kind of events that you let define you, like you start to question everything. You wonder if you really have what it takes. And maybe you felt this way, like maybe I'm not really cut out for that. I questioned if I was even called to speak. Maybe I was just more of a behind the scenes kind of person. I took a walk afterwards, and in my immaturity, I decided that God must be trying to teach me a lesson, that I didn't really understand what following God looked like. Maybe the whole thing was just a display of my own hubris. And everyone around me let me believe that God was trying to deal with my pride, that I failed because I wasn't fully submitted to God. I came to that conclusion myself, but you know what should have happened? I'm 100% convinced of this now. Someone wiser and more secure than me should have said, you know what, Harrison? Do it again. Book the next stadium. Go inspire people. Go encourage people. Go do all that God has put on your heart. Tweak your message. Learn how to attract people. You're going to be great. Maybe they let you believe that God was putting you in your place. So let me be the one to say it. You are going to be the greatest. God has put greatness inside you. You're going to touch the world in ways that nobody else can. So rise up with all your greatness and shine bright. Let everyone else see it because you are the greatest of all time. At the recording of this video, I have less than 80 subscribers on YouTube. I started 11 episodes ago with 12 subscribers. But you want to know something? I'm going to be the greatest inspirational YouTuber of all time. This channel is going to impact the lives of millions of people. I'm going to be translated into other languages and reach people all around the world. Why? Because I'm the GOAT. I'm the star of this movie that I'm living in, and that's just me accepting the greatness that God has put in me. If you want to accept the greatness God put in you, stand up wherever you are, shout out, say, I'm the GOAT. I don't need anyone to validate it. I'm not looking for you to validate it or to approve it. I'm going to serve at the highest level. My life is going to make a difference. I'm going to be first in line, the greatest of all time. So put your shoulders back and say it aloud. Say, I'm the GOAT. I'm the greatest. I'm going to become all I was created to be. Hey, I'd love to hear from you with questions that you have about becoming all you were created to be. So drop your questions in the comments and I'll address them in future shows. And then make sure to click the subscribe button and turn on the bell so you get notified next time I drop a video. For now, go change the world.